We are good to go.
All right. I will be calling the Village of Cross Plains Plan Commission meeting of March 3rd, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Brochus,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
Commissioner Cree,
Here.
Commissioner Thusius,
Here.
Trustee Brunner,
Here.
Trustee Kettlebeater,
Here.
President Langfeld.
Here. You stand for Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're at public comment. This is an opportunity for anyone to address the Plan Commission on any issue. Please observe the time limit of 3 minutes. While the Plan Commission encourages input from residents, it may not discuss or act on any issue that is not duly noticed on the agenda. Is there anybody here that would like to speak? Public comment?
I don't see anyone online.
Okay. We will go to general business. First one is approval of the minutes from the February 3rd, 2025 Plan Commission meeting. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 3rd.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So moved. Number 2, 1821. Do I have a motion? We're gonna take these in two separate, all the next 4. So A, public hearing. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing on 1821 Main Street?
I'll make a motion to go to public hearing for 1821 Main Street.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. All right, we're in public hearing. Is there anybody? Michael?
Hey, all real quick, thank you. I just came up after reviewing it and just noticed some issues with some of the lighting that's going on at the place. They just examined the lighting for the gazebo, that they have 2 external lights. One is, it's a tall pole that MGD puts up around the back. It was just replaced with an LED recently. So you know, inside that zoning district, max height for lights is 16 feet. This light is well above that. I don't know if you want to grant an exception for it, or the owners want to remove it, or if they use it, or what, but it's just there. The fixture was replaced, so lost its non-conforming status, and you need to switch it to an LED recently. Second one is they have a wall pack on the back of the building that lights out towards the north. According to the lighting ordinance, that needs to be a fully shielded fixture, where you can see it clear up on Park Street, if not further away. And so that's the other basic issue that's happening there. With that, if you were wanting to grant an exception for that, there are other things you can do. That fixture used to be on a motion sensor, and I don't believe it is anymore, because it's on pretty much all the time. I'll ride by at 11 o'clock when the parking lot's empty, and it's basically on all night long. Whereas before, when it was Montagues and Hootie's, it was on a motion sensor. So that alleviated that issue. Another issue would be if they were going to use that to light the parking lot, you could say you only use it during business hours or when the parking lot is actually active. Just throwing out suggestions. These are just things from lighting theory. Use it when you need to, put on motion sensors, etc. And that's what I saw. I just want to come up and say it at this meeting rather than at the board meeting.
Okay. All right, thank you. Anybody else would like to speak at the public hearing? All right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 1821.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So moved. All right, we'll go into B, discussion and possible action regarding general development plan specific implementation plan approval for an outdoor entertainment structure at 1821 Main Street. You guys want to come up? Yeah. All right, why don't you give us an overview of your plan? Yeah, just click that on.
And I can navigate through your application too if you want.
Sure, so I guess what we're looking at is the overview, the bird's eye view of the area that we are looking to put a permanent structure in what is currently the volleyball court, which will turn into the permanent structure, for lack of a better term, a tiki bar. To serve food, cocktails, anything else the community might want. And will be open limited hours and again, adhering to what the volleyball rules are, closed at 10 p.m., whatever night it's open. Lighting, again, Michael brought up lighting. It requires minimal lighting. Actually, the volleyball light, which is there's the genie pole, and then there is the volleyball light that is slightly shorter, but actually be taken out. And the only lighting would be what we use currently, which is string lighting during the summer months. And then lighting for the comfort of customers and employees to work. There we go.
No, so I just want to make sure we stay focused on, so the plan that we have tonight, we're only looking, the only proposal was to change to approve the structure, right?
To approve the GDP and the SIP, yes.
Yep. And so, yeah, that is the plan, and there'd be no more sound, like the external sound system that we already have, which is the speakers that we have under our pergola and the speakers that we use for our stage, for amplified music. In addition, there'd be sidewalk access from the inside going out and potentially from the parking lot, but yes. So I suppose we're looking at the parking lot side with that, from that schematic there. And it would be, you're looking at it would be 20 seats, 4 TVs.
Sonia, do you wanna,
Just a quick overview of the planner's staff report.
Yep.
So this property has a base zoning district of Main Street mixed use. And it has had a plan development overlay on it for some years, which addressed the volleyball use that's happening there. So this is coming forward for a new plan development for 2 reasons. 1, because it's a change to the plan development that was there and approved. But 2, they do need slightly different flexibilities. Again, plan development can be used to obtain flexibility from the base standards of the zoning code, as long as it goes through this negotiated review process and the planning commission and the board approves it. So the flexibilities that would be granted specifically with this request are this land use proximity in the code for what's called outdoor commercial entertainment land uses. That's what they're proposing here. So those are typically supposed to be 100 feet away from residentially zoned property. And they're proposing a setback of 19 feet from the west lot line and 16 from the north lot line. So this is an area that, of course, had been used previously for outdoor commercial entertainment. There's noise volleyball leagues there occurring in the past. This would continue an outdoor commercial entertainment land use, but specifically approve these reduced setbacks. Just in considering whether to approve that or not, or if that's appropriate, you can consider things like the hours of operation, which are changing slightly compared to when it was volleyball. They do have some screening. They've provided more arborvitae than would be required for the landscaping point section of the code. And those are maybe some things that you could consider, but comfortable with that from a staff perspective. And then there were two other sort of technical flexibilities identified in the staff memo. One was, there's no expansion of the parking lot. And that typically the parking lot would require lighting, per the code, but because nothing's changing there. We just called this out to clarify the record that no additional parking lot lighting was going to be required. I think you could apply the same perspective to the two lighting issues that were brought up. The MG&E pole is an existing condition. I think if it's being removed, that's great. And the wall pack in the building, again, separate from the tiki bar, so we really didn't review that against the application that you're looking at today. And then finally, process-wise, this is a combination of the general development plan and the specific implementation plan. Usually those are two separate things, which requires the applicant to go through a set of meetings here for the GDP and then come back later for the SIP. For a smaller project like this, they're using a flexibility to ask for relief from that process. So just to be able to combine them. And we're comfortable with that from a staff level as well. So the recommendation is for approval. So the clarification that the pavement has to be set back 10 feet off of your lot line. And if there are any other conditions of approval the planning commission wanted to add, you could negotiate for removal of the MG&E light pole. That may have some difficulty. I just saw in the record in the past, they had trouble getting that removed because it was an MG&E pole. And then, another example is you could specify that they maintain the hours of operation that are listed in the application. But that would be sort of a belt and suspenders since that's what we're approving in the application. So, just some other examples of conditions with that.
All right, do people have any questions for anybody? Bill?
So just to make sure that I'm clear on how I read this, is you're replacing the volleyball with the tiki bar, correct?
Correct.
Are you gonna have any, or are you gonna put any lighting between the main building and the tiki bar, at least for the ground, for people of my age that have a difficult time walking from one to the
There'll
other?
be string lights all, so like where the sidewalk will be, there will be string lighting, which we
Okay.
do all right now with volleyball, like over the yard.
Okay,
So it's like string,
There is.
string lighting that will be.
PKK lighting comes in every year and comes and installs the lighting and removes the lighting for the winter months when
Okay.
nobody uses it, and that will continue.
and that's enough luminance on the ground to be able to kind of see your footing and all that,
It has been, yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
yeah.
right? Cool. That's all I have right now.
Doug?
Is the brown, is that stamped concrete or colored concrete, or is that still sand?
That's it.
That's still sand, and then the sidewalk and concrete pad is, so.
Is the white, yeah.
Yep,
Correct.
okay, thank you.
All right, about the two lighting issues, I guess. It's MG&E pole and they fixed it, so I'm comfortable just letting it ride as is. Do you have any comments on the suggestion of the brick lighting or whatever, what was it called? Wall.
Yeah.
Pack, lighting. I would guess that, is there a reason why it stays on all night? Not,
No idea, the Pete, our electrician, put a motion sensor light in there and apparently it stays on all the time.
So we-
And I had no idea until.
So when I close the bar down most nights,
yeah,
and when I leave, of course, it's on because I'm walking out the door, so I never noticed it either.
all right,
But we could certainly either make sure the motion thing is working or put it on a timer at 2 AM, it goes off.
you'd be open to that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 'cause that
Totally.
was,
Yeah.
and I understand the motion part, someone walks by, the light comes on, it's less likely they're gonna go into your back door and stuff like that, that'll. Obviously, from a safety, security, I would go with the motion, but if it's not working, at least if we can turn it off at night.
Yeah, we can just get a new motion sensor, a new light, motion light.
All right, anybody else?
Ready for a motion?
Go ahead with it,
So
sir.
take a motion to approve this presented.
So why don't we be a little bit that we're approving the general development plan and the specific implementation plan?
I'll make a motion to approve the general development plan and the site specific plan as presented.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second discussion. Go ahead, Dan.
Have the two adjacent neighbors been notified specifically?
Not that I know of,
One,
unless.
Is that part of our
Sorry.
process though?
For the public hearing notices, those would have gone out to surrounding properties.
Yes,
So
that's
they
true.
would have gotten it.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same.
Just mention, I'm abstaining just because my son is employed there. so.
Okay, so make a note of the minutes that.
Seth
All
abstained.
right.
Perfect.
Yep,
Look for it.
very good. Thank you very much. Good luck.
Thank you.
appreciate it for your time.
They know he's.
Take care, guys.
They know that.
Yeah.
They know that, okay.
All right, we have Village of Cross Plains updated floodplain ordinance. Do it the same way. Let's do public hearing first. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I'll make a motion to go in the public hearing for the floodplain ordinance.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're at a public hearing. Anybody would like to speak on this?
Nope. It's
Doesn't
just
look
us.
like it, all right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
All right.
You're getting closer. Motion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same, so moved. So we're in B, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the updated Village of Cross Plains floodplain ordinance. Carly?
Yep, that is me. So this is, so FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, has recently updated their flood insurance, rate maps. So basically what that means, for us is that for a portion of Dane County, they had done a flood insurance study. And so because of these changes, the village is required to update our floodplain ordinance. Our floodplain zoning ordinance. I think this happens every 8 years or so. So this is pretty common practice. And so basically, so we have to do the public hearing at Plan Commission, and then it has to go to the village board for adoption. And then everything gets submitted over to the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources by mid-March. So that's the purpose of the updated floodplain ordinance. Not much has changed. So we have this currently in our code of ordinances. It is chapter 85, I believe. And so we're amending the only thing that was changed really. So the DNR kind of puts together a draft ordinance for us to respond to. And they offered a couple of other additions. And the biggest potential addition was the incorporation of Act 175. So what this is it was enacted in March of 2020 and provides a minimum standard for regulating non-conforming structures based on an assessment of local flood risks. So if something was in the floodplain and were to have been damaged, it would regulate whether it can be replaced in that specific area. And so what this does, this Act 175 allows the municipality to decide if we want to replace if that structure can be replaced in that floodplain. So before they would determine that anything over 50% of, I don't know if you want to kind of step in on this a little bit, Sonia, because it's a little bit confusing here with so there's the assessed value and whether or not it can be replaced. But basically this will give the village more autonomy in deciding whether or not to allow replacement of a structure if it gets destroyed.
Yeah, I think you covered all the gist of it.
Okay.
Well, it's just before you could only improve up to 50% of the total value.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a big kicker.
over time, so cumulatively improvements in the roof structure, whatever. And this state law says now you can be more flexible if the municipality so chooses to adopt that flexibility. So you can remove the 50% cap and allow improvements over time. Of course, something like the 50% cap is meant to be like a sunset to get rid of the non-conforming structure in the floodplain. But the benefit of being more flexible is that you can have safer structures because the value, you can exceed that value if they're building it to flood safety protection standards. And it can also, just eliminate blight or dilapidated structures that are otherwise just sitting there further deteriorating and again, being unsafe. So, just kind of, those are some benefits of it. Some communities might choose to continue being more strict if they have a lot of properties in the floodplain that they're trying to, sunset out. I don't think there are that many. Here, there are some benefits to that additional flexibility.
So I just, one big one, so they did not, this change does not change the borders of the floodplain. That doesn't.
The map doesn't change at all, right?
No,
Okay, I just wanna make sure, well, we kinda had that problem, Seth is an expert in that, cause it affected his property, I just wanna make sure that. We all know ahead of time that I couldn't see anything in there, but it wasn't highlighted on the changes.
right.
Yeah, I looked up mine too, and I didn't see any updated.
Yeah, there
maps.
were no,
Okay, thank
At least in
you,
my area. I
okay,
was curious, I was gonna ask, what, did any of the maps in our village change, just because something changed in the county?
Mhm.
yeah, to me, it's, if the change is, the big change was giving more authority. To municipalities, that's great, if it changes where the floodplain is, then we really shouldn't.
right,
We really need to know that, cause I don't want people to get their notices that they now have to buy flood insurance after we,
right.
cause that kinda happened to us once.
Mhm.
But I would have thought they would have said something.
Right. I am not aware of any changes. Nope.
All right, do I have a motion? Or Bill, you want?
Yeah, I got a question. It doesn't make much of a difference, but it's just, I'm more curious than anything else. They're talking about, what can be acceptable for getting repaired, right? I mean, that's kind of what they're talking about, and this is, from what I understand,
Well, they're taking the cap away.
right?
You can do more than 50%.
So
Yeah.
who's, that's what I don't understand, is FEMA paying, or?
No.
It's what
The rule was before, if anybody, it doesn't matter if you're private or municipality, if the structure, you couldn't do more than 50% repair on it. You had to remove, they didn't want structures in
if it got flooded.
Floodplain.
well, not if it got flooded, I think it's just in general, right? Yeah, it's just in general.
in the
They
flood-
basically
floodplain.
don't want buildings in the floodplain. So they made it where if you do over 50, if it requires more than 50%, basically they'd like you to take it down.
What if it's a historical building?
Well,
On the
now we
national-
don't have to worry about it. I don't know all
I
the,
mean,
Seth knows a little bit more about working with FEMA than anybody here. They're very difficult.
I'm sorry,
I don't know what that circumstance would be.
okay,
It's really irrelevant now because now we have control of doing it.
okay,
So this is just, we are adopting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
something we can choose to put into the adopted ordinance.
Yeah.
And we thought it was within the village's best interest, but wanted to bring it here for discussion.
All right, do I have a motion? This is your big chance.
I will make a motion to move the updated village constitution company.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. All right, I think the next one should be really 4. We kind of went through it. That's the land
Oh.
division should be 4.
Sorry about that.
No, that's all right. I just noticed it. Okay, the land division ordinance amendment. We'll do the same thing with A. Do I have a motion to go into public hearing?
I'll make a motion to go in public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I got a motion and a second to go into public hearing on the land division ordinance. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. We're in public hearing. Is there anybody that would like to speak at this public hearing? We don't even have anybody on.
Nope.
anymore.
It's just us, yeah.
All right, all right, do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to come out of public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second to come out of public hearing. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same. So moved, we're out. All right, we're at D, discussion and possible action regarding land division ordinance amendment to state the minimum lot width is 50 feet unless reduced by any village zoning district or plan development zoning approval. We'll let Sonia go through this one.
Okay. So this is an amendment to the land division ordinance, which is separate from the zoning code. So for chapter 83, the zoning code is 84. And a lot of times we're just looking at, often we're gonna look to the zoning code first to make sure that a property meets all the requirements of that zoning district. So minimum lot width, setbacks, lot size, things like that. But there are also requirements in this land division chapter, when you're platting land that are similar, that we want to make sure align with the zoning code and don't conflict. So this one standard in particular requires that all lots be 50 feet in width. And that comes from state statute, chapter 236, which is sort of cited there, that it says in populous counties that there should be an average width of over 50 feet for every lot, unless that is specifically exempted by local subdivision control ordinances. And that's what your chapter 83 is. So say hypothetically, you changed your zoning code in the future and you wanted to promote narrower lots in a zoning district to promote housing affordability or meet other goals, and you wanted to have a 30-foot lot width. Well, then you would have a zoning district that would conflict with your subdivision code. Likewise, plan development zoning a lot of times can plan development zoning approves flexibilities, and one of the very common ones that we see all over the county is to reduce lot width, this specific issue, especially for single family developments or residential developments. So again, that would be an instance where the plan development zoning conflicts with the land division ordinance. I think this is really a cleanup issue. It's not intended to change policy. It's not intended to obligate the village to approve smaller lot widths. That's a decision that you would make with every zoning proposal that comes forward. You still maintain all authority in a plan development to approve it or not. You maintain all authority whether to change your zoning district rules. This just makes sure that the two are consistent.
And if you remember, this was brought up probably 2-3 months ago. We had two different paths we could take to achieve that, and this is what we chose here and the board chose. So this is just Sonia putting that in action and implementation form. So do we have any questions for Sonia? Otherwise, I'd like a motion.
I can make a motion to approve the proposed land division ordinance in chapter 83. Land division ordinance amendment in chapter 83.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. All right, we're on 5. Lot 56, Creek Crossing at St. Francis LLC. So we'll do A first. Discussion and possible action regarding specific implementation plan approval for lot 56. You guys want to come up to the table, please? All right, which one of you three want to start with this?
So you.
Okay, so we've seen this project a number of times as well, lot 56 Creek Crossing. They have been following a plan development process. So the base zoning district is the MR8. And they're asking to use plan development zoning to get certain flexibilities from that base zoning district. Those flexibilities have already been approved with the GDP. So now they're into, the last step, which is the SIP. So the GDP established, a smaller lot width, similar to what we just talked about with ordinance, as well as reduced setbacks. Those are really the primary reasons in order to get smaller lots and, kind of fit the shape of the lot and also to deliver slightly more affordable, lots than could otherwise be possible. And then the SIP that we're looking at tonight is really like a site plan level of review. And so if you were reviewing a commercial development, you have landscaping, grading, parking lot details, details of the architecture, things like that. With a residential development, there aren't quite as many of those details to review, but there's still information included on things like architecture. So they did provide duplex elevations that show some of the detail, and one of the important points that pointed out is the duplexes have their garages on the back of the house facing the alley, whereas the front of the house faces the open space. And those garages then face the single family homes that are behind them. So those single family homes are looking directly into the garages. So that was a point discussed by the planning commission before, where we wanted those to be just slightly elevated at least to improve that aesthetic. Since this is a narrow sort of area in the alley. So they're providing garage doors that do have the lights and the paneled aesthetic. So it's just one example of something from the architecture. There are really no other concerns with grading. All of the lot dimensions and things that they're proposing are consistent with the GDP. Last time the planning commission had some questions on affordability, and the applicant did also agree to work into their zoning code specifics for the plan development that they're creating, that there would be a maximum house size. So that is 2 different square footage maximums for the single family product and the 2 family product. The staff recommendation for the SIP is for approval, and just because the architecture wasn't specific to each lot, so we just put in basically an anti-monotony condition. If you wanted to include that, that requires a different color on adjoining lot so that it's not all the same. And then recommends approval of the final plat with no conditions.
Jeff, you want to add anything?
We're fine with the anti-monotony, clause.
Okay. Ron, anything?
No, it's a very unique project, as you know, and we've been through the details, so we appreciate your patience in getting to this point.
All right. Anybody on the commission have any questions? Otherwise, I'd like a motion. Okay, Seth?
Trying to find it again, there was the part where it mentioned the maximum square footage. I just want to clarify, like I said, it does not include porches, etc., but it did include basements in there, and I just want to make sure that's not gonna cause a problem with anyone's interpretation of it.
Do you have the chart? The chart is. But, maximum house square footage, not including garage, porches, decks, patios, sunrooms, or basements.
I took most of it in the house where I just went. Yeah, oh, I see on, in the text.
On page
Like,
89.
Yeah,
89.
the bullet that's at the top of the page. Yeah, like, it's page 90 of the PDF.
Okay. That's helpful. Thank you. There it is.
There's a letter to you dated February 20th.
This is it.
Yeah, so that bullet right there, it's 2-story homes, so not, that does not say
Oh, right.
basements. That's right.
The chart, which has all of the criteria, is accurate.
Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't getting caught, so make sure that someone couldn't back it. Like, with the basement, it's bigger than. And then the only other question I had, because I didn't see it in the plans, was street lighting. That last time, that what the current lighting, very dark in the center of that alley. Are there any homes? Or is that just a staff approval thing as part of the street construction? Because right now there's the one street light on Angeles at the south, the west end. That would illuminate kind of that first part, but then the street light on the east side of Angelus is kind of down right by the path. That goes in between the single family, to the bottom right there. That's the nearest light, so the east end of that alleyway of Creek Crossing Way, there's no street light there. That would illuminate the interior of that street at all, so I'm just worried that's gonna be very dark in there if none of the residents have their lights on. If we don't have street.
So you're proposing a street light in the middle of that alley?
I just think there needs to be looked at to see, is there an ordinance that has to be met or something that guides that? I didn't, like I said, I didn't know if that was not in here because that's something that's nitty gritty of the staff approvals. But I asked about it last time. Just didn't see it in here, so.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't know how we do that. With the rest of, you were with the rest of Creek Crossing, right? Is there a standard where they have to be so far apart?
Yeah, there was some spacing,
Yeah.
but fairly loose. I haven't seen any review comments on our street design from Brian. So I don't know what Public Works is thinking. My thought was that there would be front porch lights on the north side or garage lights on the south side. But there's no.
Right, I mean, we should have to rely on the residents to illuminate the public street, because this is a public street guard. So I think whatever our village policy is, we don't want to have a dark street. Which will.
We will have electric running along the street, so it's there. And we can talk to Public Works.
Yeah, well, we have a meeting on Wednesday,
Wednesday.
and then we have a board meeting on the 10th, where I'm guessing this will come.
Mhm.
So we can address it there if you're okay with
Yeah,
that.
it says the code says lighting to serve the platted area in accordance with standard specifications approved by the director of public.
Is that a walkway between lots 15 and 16?
Yes,
Well, could you put a lamp on the north end of that walkway?
to illuminate the fact that it's there and then also.
Illuminate the
Well, if
sidewalk?
you're gonna put a light, maybe you put it there.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah.
someone who has an expertise in this needs to, I assume.
but that would make
Yeah.
sense to have it up by a walkway.
Yeah, no, I agree.
No,
So we're
yeah,
gonna put one in,
absolutely.
but I guess by ordinance, it's Public Works that
Yep.
decides where they're at, so we'll,
That's fine, I just wanted.
yeah, no,
I
sure.
know.
And
a
then
good
the
point.
question would be the scale of the light, given the width of the street,
Yeah,
you have to. Traditional, full-size, streetlights throughout the neighborhood, so
It might be
We're
better
open to
to
it.
smaller, more pedestrian scale lights.
we're open whatever.
yeah.
Well,
Well,
we're looking for.
Too bad Michael left, 'cause he's like.
oh, yeah. Well, he'll be checking it out at board, so
Yeah.
I'm confident. We'll get it addressed.
Very well.
All right, anything else? Otherwise, a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the specific implementation plan for lot 56. Creek Crossing.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. So moved. D, discussion and possible action regarding final lot approval for lot 56. And we'll put a note to check on the lighting.
Discuss separately about the plat.
No, I just wanted to make sure that you know that we can approve this with that note for the board.
Mhm.
No, it's open for questions if you have them. Otherwise, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve the final plat for lot 56.
I'll second that.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. So moved. It's been a long road. I think I have this memorized, haven't I? Many times we've talked about it. All right.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Have a good night. And just so you know, our board meeting moved to the 10th. So March 10th.
Yeah.
So basically next week, next Monday.
That agenda.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't, I'm pretty sure I did.
Because I told it.
I'll remind him.
Okay, good enough.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought I'm so. You know anything, all right, I'm sorry. Joanne, you want to introduce yourself? Joanne is our new member of the,
I'm Joanna Creed. I'm here.
and you live in the Melanie Parkway
I live in
area?
the Melody, yeah, Melody Acres.
Joanne.
Joanna. Like the cool name. That's my name, yeah.
I thought maybe before the media.
Yeah.
I'm Judy, nice to meet you.
Kevin. Yes.
Yes.
Well, welcome.
Yeah. All right, now I'll go to the last item. This is discussion and possible action of the village comprehensive plan, community input plan discussion, so. The last time they did it, these were the 5, if you see on the board, these were the 5 ways they kept the community in form. First, there was the plan commission meetings that were noticed and well documented that we were talking about what we were talking about, the comprehensive plan. I think we've covered that. No problem there. Then there was a community opinion survey done. And then there was, what was kind of odd, there was the public workshop and the focus groups and interviews, but what was odd is both of them were done on the same day, which seems to me like either that's a long day or or the dates got messed up or something, but I would think, and I kind of want tonight to us kind of get in our mind an order and maybe somewhat of a loose timeline. I think obviously the plan commission we're doing, so that's already there. The public hearing is always gonna be at the end. So we're good there. I would like to do the community opinion survey first, because I think that will help guide us on the focus groups and interviews. And then from there, I would, once that's all done, then I would go to the public workshop. Because then we've got a lot of input and that would, to me, would be the final part of it. Then we put the plan together and we do the public hearing. Does that make sense to people, or does people see doing it a different way? I don't want to do both the same day. If they did that, that was a long day.
Yeah, we usually do it that way,
Oh.
because the focus groups are with a small group of invited people, like
Right.
that are experts in a topic, so those might be during business hours, and you have like, you can have developing people come in, and then the workshop at night is, the whole community's invited.
Right. But wouldn't you want the input from the focus groups to be worked into the workshop?
You could do it that way. I mean, a lot of times it's similar questions and it just all feeds into the whole process, but if you wanted to use it to inform the workshop in a specific way, you could. Workshop's usually really broad, as a comp plan, it's covering a lot of topics. Either way.
People's thoughts?
Also, the intent of both of those gather the same types of information. So it's not one leading into the other. It's
Right.
just a different way to get the same, you're asking the same questions. Other than like some specific focus groups might have a specific interest that you want to go. into
Right,
detail.
no, I understand it, but a lot of the people in the focus groups are also gonna be part of the public workshop. You know what I'm saying?
Ask the same questions.
Well, I'm just trying to think on how much you want to have done by the time the workshop is. See, to me, that's like the second to last.
Are we gonna have a consultant here on those?
Yes,
That's why, I mean, that's 2 trips out for them if they're coming out, I mean, I think that's always good, right?
It helps with the budget.
So they're gonna be out here one day instead of 2 days.
But don't we pay you by the hour?
I didn't know we did, but it's like a half day. So that's starting to ring a bell like we did that last time. I missed the focus, but I remember the other part of it. I'm sure they just come out for the afternoon or the day and take care of all that.
Yeah, it's just efficient.
I mean, I don't know.
I trust, her doing, how many of these you do a year probably?
I've only been with Vanderbilt for 3 years. So-
Have you done any of these?
Yes.
Okay,
I view it as.
and is this pretty much what you've done?
Those are the really common, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
One that we've been adding is an online interactive map. And also like some online follow-ups to these, just because people are busy and exhausted and it's harder and harder to attend public events. So we've been adding in some more of those.
Okay, so it would be like the workshop, you'd have that on somehow on your site, people could go and play around with it without showing up, and then you would have that data.
Yes,
It's not a separate step, it's combined with that, just more
we try to
convenient.
make them, feel like it's the same thing if you have the opportunity,
Sure,
but there's an online version and an in-person.
okay, all right, yeah. All right. So everybody comfortable with these then? So then the work comes in on there's a couple things, we'll do a timeline later, but the first one is, and we're not gonna do it tonight, just want you to think about what are the focus groups we wanna get. How many of them, and there's 9 different chapters, do you do one on each chapter, or think about how we wanna organize those focus groups and, there's some real obvious ones out there, obviously, I can think of 2, you have the business community, then you have the outdoor recreation, community.
So by the time we get to the focus groups, do we want to have real data in our documentation? Right now, we don't have real data in we have old data in our documentation, right?
Yeah, no,
And we're not gonna have it for a couple of years because,
well, I don't know about a couple of years,
Well,
but yeah,
yeah.
we wanna do that near the end. I don't know if the data is important for those 2. Does it matter how many single family houses we have,
Well,
or the population we're trying to get?
that
We
data,
wanna get to what they wanna see in the future.
right, but it may be important to see trends. And so, we don't need to know what the exact number of population or how many people are between 51 and 60. But it might be interesting to see what the trends are happening in our community. And that could tie something to the focus group. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, my only concern is if you were talking about efficiency and cost. If you do it on the front end, we're definitely gonna have to do it on the back end, so we're gonna be rerunning the data twice probably.
But are we running it or someone else?
Well, we're gonna pay somebody to do it. So it's more costly, just like we just went through why having those 2 things on the same day. I mean, if we're looking to save money that way to run, there's a lot of data there, and to update it, you're gonna have to rerun it.
Can't we run some of that data?
I don't know. I know we probably have some of it now because Parks is updating their park plan, so maybe we have that information available. I have not really seen exactly what they have or where they got it from or the dates on it, but that would be available. We've already paid for that. Go ahead, Kevin inside.
I'm just wondering, how long we think this timeline is going to take from beginning to end? Because if it's a year or less, the numbers aren't gonna change much in a year or less. So I really don't think that when we do the numbers, it doesn't really matter. I do agree with Bill that, or at least have some sort of information to go with, to these focus groups, because the data is pretty old now. And if it's gonna be, if it's a month old or 6 months old, that's different than 9 years or whatever. I think some of the stuff is from 90. So,
Yeah, it is.
So I mean, any updated information is gonna be useful. I think if the plan gets approved, say in mid-26, and it's a year old, we're not that bad, changing.
Seth?
I'm in. Said exactly what I wanted to say.
All right, so okay, so we have this data, I guess. We have different visions on how the focus groups are going to work. So tell me how you think a focus group would work. Let's take one for outdoor recreation group. So we bring in Ice Age Trail, we bring in the off-road biking group, we bring in fishing group, the Black Earth Trip, that. So tell me what data and how you see this focus group working.
It depends, I don't know, I mean, what I'm thinking, go on, Seth.
I think we need to have the existing conditions for all of this stuff, and right now our existing conditions are 10 or more years old. So with that specific example, it could be a map that shows what our current outdoor recreation facilities are, when they were constructed. Yeah, what's in the old plan about our updated Parks and Recreation plan. I assume that's been updated since our comp plan was last updated.
Yeah, it'll be updated.
Yeah, so that's the kind of stuff.
So, but help me
how many
out.
acres of park space we have, how many total parks, like that's now the existing information that we want the public to know. Here's where we are now.
No, I agree with you. The public, when we do the map, we'll have the current, but that's I'm talking a focus group, so I have, here's the thing.
Focus group, for when you have these people coming in, it's like, here's where we are now. Where do you want to go?
So do you see us sending this out to them 2 weeks ahead so they read it and have that?
But just present it to them then.
I think ahead of time, though, honestly would be better so they can think about it.
That doesn't have to be-
Well, it depends.
I mean, no, like a weekend.
See, okay, and that's certainly one of them. I'm okay. My vision was, the way it looked like they did it was more, where do you see yourself? Like, so Ice Age Trail, are you expanding in the next 10 years? Or you're gonna add this, or what would be an amenity that the village could do to help the Ice Age Trail? Are you going to do improvements on the North Trail? Are you gonna purchase any more land? What are you doing with the Swanson property? You know, that, it's more on what they're doing, not so much what we do. And I would think that they would know where they're at. And what we're looking at is what is their, because it says even in the old one, well, not the current one, what is their plans for the next 10 years? Because you want to incorporate as much as that into your comprehensive plan.
Right.
So that's where the more focus, what they've done in the past is great, but I'm not sure the value to it.
We need, village needs to have that baseline.
Well, yeah, we do, but
So we need to update that data anyway. So
but
we
we're
know-
not part of the focus group. We can do,
We're presenting, village is presenting this information and asking questions of the focus group to get the information.
So, for example, so you have new subdivisions going up. We've got a big one over at PI that there's, contemplating, right? And so what does the Ice Age Trail want to do? What, I don't know what Ice Age Trail is considering, that's why they're a good partner to have so are the other volunteer groups around our village, and so are other issues. I mean, so even having an idea of where the new subdivisions are at, where like you said, where the new parks are at, that type of thing, I think is important to make a focus group have that information to be able to come up with ideas and thoughts. You know what I mean?
okay, it's all on how, see, I'm looking at literally the focus groups is to get information from them to help us design a comprehensive plan. That, I'm not looking for them to develop a comprehensive.
I understand that. But,
Okay,
right.
that's-
No, and that makes perfect sense, but regardless of which direction that's going, you still need the most current information to be able to make a decision to either help us out or to help them out, or vice versa,
But the key there is decision. I'm not looking for decisions.
No.
But, well,
Ideas.
Yeah, exactly. That's what-
it's ideas, but but a focus group is gonna come up as a focus group, make a decision. They're within that group of what their ideas are, and they're gonna present those ideas. So it's just, I don't wanna get caught up in.
No, I don't either. Like I say, That's just different than what I've done when I've run them.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna change my mind a little bit because I do see points, 2, 3, and 4 up here is the data collection part of it. And then 5 is the comment period. In between the data collection and the comment period is when we throw everything in the sausage and we produce the casing and here we go. And so this is where we're gonna have to send this out with all the things like the updated maps and the updated information. And this is where we're gonna see that final-ish product. So I guess I would take back that the focus groups don't necessarily need a lot of the data done. So this is like the consultant work, sorry, taking money out of your pocket. The consultant work doesn't have to happen all before this, really. It really happens at this
Yeah,
phase
so
right there.
what Kevin just described is really how, if we're doing the whole process from start to finish as the consultant, within the first month of the contract, we're doing, like, month or two, we're doing the workshop and focus group interviews way at the front to get input at the front. But at the same time, there's some data review that happens so that,
Yeah.
like, not as much in the focus groups, but in the public workshop, we'll have a presentation.
Yeah.
And we'll say, you're growing this much or.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes,
To get some-
and that's kind of the flavor of the last one.
Yeah.
But they did run, if I remember the time, it seemed like the community opinion survey was the very first thing
And there was
they
a
did.
public meeting for that. There was a presentation.
Was there?
Yeah. At
Okay,
the very beginning, there was a introduction of the whole process. And
okay.
it was at, the.
Fire station?
No,
Legion,
but
I
the
think.
school.
That was a Legion.
Well, no, okay, I hear what you're saying. So when you did, you got a community, you had a meeting to let everybody know,
Yeah.
this is coming down, this is what we're looking for. Did you actually hand out hard copies of the survey?
No.
Because the one that they had was electronic version that was on the website.
We might have,
You started it right there,
we
that,
might have had surveys there, yeah.
okay,
I thought people wanted out, so.
okay.
Well, like the
Full
question,
memory there.
yeah, the question that I have is kind of like, so if you're looking at those two, the opinion survey and the visioning, that kind of seems like broad strokes, like general, and like the focus group and interviews is more like, now that we have all of this like desired state, now from the actual stakeholders that are experts, what's realistic? And what, like, trying to kind of winnow down this huge vat of ideas into like, what's actually attainable or what isn't within our like scope.
Right, and I remember the public workshop. You
Yeah,
know, they had a number, but the main thing that everybody was interested was the big map with the land use.
Mhm.
That, quite frankly, that was the big one.
Yeah.
That's,
Legion, you're right.
you
Just
know,
went on, you're
Yeah.
right, as I remember that now.
So. I mean, I have a background in transportation, right? So the first thing we do when we do a study is we collect existing conditions.
Yep.
And so I do that is, do we want to have our existing conditions before we ask the community what they want? Are we using all these surveys and stuff to not only collect existing conditions data and ask them what they want? I guess that's my question.
Okay.
View it as, we're gonna collect the existing conditions first. Then we're gonna present that to them and say, okay, here's where we are today. Now, how do we move forward? That's what we want from the survey and the vision workshop, et cetera. If the option is, we want them to data dump on us, everything that we have and what they want to do, then that's a different thing.
yeah, so, and I guess I'm used from the police department, we do it every 5 years, we bring people in. The last one I did was on capital improvements for the police department. So there were alders, there were transportation staff. We went in, the first thing we did was brainstorming. Everybody just threw ideas out there.
Right, but
And then we talked about, no data given. It was just everybody in here, we're focused on, what do you think capital needs of it? And it ended up being, you know, by the end of the 8 hours, we narrowed it down to the first one was the Midtown Police Station. And then I can't remember the rest
but
of it.
did everyone in that meeting know where you stood at the day of the meeting? Like, they know, here's what we have now.
Well,
That's what I'm getting
No,
at. Our comp plan, all the
maybe-
data we have doesn't say where we are today.
I think there were people like stakeholders that. From like nonprofits and stuff, they probably didn't have a whole lot of information. Alders probably knew that the West District was too big to manage. Probably some staff knew something like that, you know, there was probably some, but it wasn't like we gave them data. We set up lines, because another group was relationships, police, community relationship. Again, it was just, they threw one out there with brainstorming, and you do the nominal group theory. At that time, that was the big one. So you did that. What are the important ones on number of votes, how strong they felt? You know, we just, for 8 hours, we slowly whittled it down and talked about it. Yeah, so
I'm thinking of like the chapters, like, each chapter is, they're trying to update what
Yeah.
we could,
yeah,
just each of our own roles.
yeah.
But there are things that I think we need to have updated before we do this.
And that's, like I say, I'm open for it. Maybe each focus group's a little different. I don't know. Let's just think about it. We're not gonna solve it tonight. We don't need to solve it tonight. But that's one of the things we do need to kind of discuss. Now, the community survey, do we still want to lead off with that?
I guess, did anyone answer Kevin's question that I emphatically loved of what's the timeline
Well,
for this whole process?
What's this like deadline? What's
Yes.
this timeline? Well, we agree on this date. Is this what, a year from now? Is this 2 months from now?
well, I don't know. We gotta talk about it because it depends. For example, are
Is
we
it in
gonna?
this year's budget to hire the consultant to doing this?
No, it's not in this
So then
year.
it's not in 25. Okay.
But that doesn't mean we can't do it.
Okay, I like the sound of that. So, all right, so maybe 25, all right, so let's, I think if we had this done a year from now. Is that too long?
No, I would say it's too short.
Oh.
I was to be honest with you, I was hoping by summer, we'd have a solid implementation plan. Not even doing any of that
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, okay.
And then we would have a great timeline, because I think it's always better to do surveys in the warmer months of it. You know, so that's where I'm kind of starting it, because I figured the survey would be the first, because it looked like from last time, that was the first. That was your starting point.
Who develops the survey?
I have no idea, I'm just reading the old one and they had dates on it, and like, I just know, that's what I'm saying, so, and I think we found a copy of
We
what
did.
we think was the survey.
Right.
We have a community survey that was sent out in 2018, it seems like the timing of it is too. And the
Right.
question is, you know, originally we thought we just do the same survey, so you have apples to apples.
Mhm.
But I don't know, I think there could be some changes to it. So we have to, I think the next thing for the next meeting would be to review that survey and see what we think about it.
Yeah.
All right, so that's kind of where I'm at, and then I was thinking in the fall, you do your focus groups and workshops. And then it gives us time to put it together, and maybe in January, February, you do the public hearing. That would be a loose, and I guess that's a year. But I'm not sure we can pull it off that fast, but it depends, because we only meet once a month. So if the survey, we don't get it. Yeah, go ahead.
So, how long does it take you guys when you start to when you finish one? It's not-
For doing the whole plan.
Yeah.
Did Oregon last year, and that was 1 year from beginning, rewriting everything, data maps, all the public input, public hearing, 1 year start.
And essentially, we're doing a fancy amendment, right? Because we're not really starting from scratch.
You're doing an update,
An update.
and you're also doing a lot of the upfront work yourself, so I think
Yeah.
that's the goal, so you're doing a lot of the red line text and.
And then when you guys get when you have to run the data, do some updating of the data, compile everything, put it together, how long does it take you guys? That sort of compilation part of it?
Just the data.
Yeah, because I assume that's what you did.
Well, here's,
I'm just asking.
yeah, no, that's a good question, but I would see them
Starting before that?
doing this part. You're gonna have to do this part to get to where you put the thing together, because there's a whole chapter on what you ended up getting from here and what you did with it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So I think we'll have to write some of it. I would look, I'm seeing them as two parts. Part one would be helping us with these. Bringing them in, and then two, doing the final review and,
So to answer your other question, the upfront data and like just assessing everything, getting in place, that might be like a month. And then, like I said, once everything, the materials are developed, all the survey workshop, the focus group, that can all be mapped out in a month. So if you hire any consultant, like, I mean, probably a similar timeline, data and public input as a separate thing. When I worked for the city of Fitchburg, we hired Vanderwall to do the public input, similar. Run the events, facilitate, do all the materials, and then they gave us at the city the materials and I wrote it.
okay, that's kind of the idea that I was thinking, very similar to that.
Well, I guess when we come next meeting, where we decide this timeline, if we can also decide the scope of work for the consultant. I think that would be really helpful to see here, what's our responsibility, what are we gonna ask the consultant to do?
Okay.
I think that would be helpful.
I think that, yeah, that meshes together with the timeline it might change the timeline depending on.
Yeah, no, I'm good with that.
You're gonna send out a copy of the survey and you want us to comment on it next meeting, can you send it out sooner than later? Give us some time.
Why don't we have
Yeah.
Becky send it out tomorrow?
I can send it out tomorrow. I have it too. I can just
Okay.
forward it to everyone.
Yeah, cause that way I can make comments on it, too.
Yeah,
Yeah, then you can just provide it to me and I can
Yeah, perfect.
read it
yeah, we
at
can
the
get
meeting.
that to you tomorrow.
Um,
That, well, like I say, that's why I put it on the agenda, and I think we made some progress on
Yeah.
that, so I think we kind of have a plan for the plan.
Yeah, so just to confirm, we're going to review next month, we'll review the survey and discuss it, and then we'll also discuss the timeline and scope of work for the consultant.
Great.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
All right. I have a motion.
And
Sure, but the second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same, so moved, thank you, good.
Just getting complex, 'cause when you